Well, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Meducci, Dr. Speed Selling. This is the Raging Verbalist number 252. For those of you who are keeping track of it, Raging Verbalist is on YouTube, of course, every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And also you can catch us on Facebook at the Position to Win book group. We don't usually talk about politics, but today we're going to make a little bit of an exception given the kind of crazy things going on. So you might hear some things that make you a little bit scared, a little bit nervous, but that's okay. Just get a crying towel and hang on to it, and you'll probably do just fine. And away we go. And of course, who's going to ask the questions? You would be asking me the questions, but we have the ever ready at the helm, ready to go, Sandra, the lovely Sandra. Sandra, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing? And
I'm
happy
excited.
Halloween and Election Day. Well,
Yeah,
both.
yeah, and it's happening because as we're putting this together, millions and millions of people have already voted. So there you go.
That's right. That's right. So let's dive in. It's Halloween election. So what has brought us to such a scary election season?
Well, this one has really been an odd one. It's been scary. You had lots of things happen. First off, there's been like two assassination attempts. I was watching the first one live, and I can tell you that when I saw that, it was remarkably, uh, I mean, it's just how did that happen? What's going on? And then to watch the Secret Service kind of, fumble their way through. I mean, not to diss them, but if you got a guy who's that big and that tall, maybe you need bigger agents. That's always the way I always would roll on that. Also, the fact that we had this substitution of candidate, the early debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden did not go well for Biden, and they changed out candidates. Never seen it before. I've never heard of it happening before. I guess maybe in the annals of history it might have, but here we are. And then really raising a massive amount of money. They're talking about that between the Harris Biden coffers, they're going to raise like $1 billion. And at some point in time, it's just insane amount of money being raised. So that's what makes it a pretty scary election because it's tight, it's neck and neck. Who knows what's going to happen? The betting is going an interesting way, and of course, eventually we'll get to where everybody is betting all the time, but where you get to vote and bet at the same time. Maybe that's how we do it, is that we let the bookies run the election and they'll know instantly who won or who didn't win.
And for those who are not well versed in American history, is this the most unique election in history?
Well, it really is not, because if you think back to the 1800s, we had a guy named Grover Cleveland who worked his way up, lots of scandals, but got elected to the office of the presidency, was essentially a bachelor, got married in the White House, had ended up having kids, in that regard. Little Grover Cleveland trivia for those of you who are saying, geez, I wish I just had more Grover Cleveland trivia. Uh, his daughter's name was Ruth, and she went by Baby Ruth. And somebody said that would be a clever name for a candy bar. So if you go and see a Baby Ruth bar, it was named after Grover Cleveland's daughter. Just a little bit of trivia. Well, he made it into office. He lost his reelection bid, and then he against Harrison, who had a long lineage in politics. Lineage, I mean, in his family. I mean, his great grandfather signed the Declaration of Independence. His grandfather was a president. I mean, it's just all of that happened. But Harrison lost to Grover Cleveland, so Grover Cleveland had the only split terms and ended up, pretty bad second term. But we've had this happen before, so could happen again.
And why are we in such unsettled times?
Well, because I think we don't have that easy, how do you tell one side from the other? Donald Trump has now brought in a lot of people who you would have never thought were going to join his campaign, one of which is RFK Jr. And, love him or hate him, but, he's a Kennedy. He's the direct son of Robert Kennedy. and who was running in 68. So it's interesting that, that he's brought over RFK, he's brought over Tulsi Gabbard, he's brought over Elon Musk. That's pretty strange. And also, I see Tucker Carlson is out there for him. So that's changed who is on whose side, because all of them, all of those that I just described, really were not in that Republican camp. Now, you know, Kamala Harris has gotten, well, she's got Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. I mean, that's a real switcheroo. So we live in some pretty weird times. Talk about scary election. That's kind of strange brew out there.
And so what are the issues?
Well, there's so many issues. There's a lot of people who are one issue voters, but I think it settles into these three top ones. First off is the economy. The economy is in unsettled shape. We see a lot of businesses still going out of business. I mean, the pandemic is over, but we're seeing businesses, going in the wrong direction. We see interest rates are higher, and that makes things pretty uneven and uneasy. So the economy is there. Number two is immigration. Joe Biden came into office and he rescinded executive orders, 94 executive orders, which actually were there to stop or to at least slow the flow of immigration. So immigration has gone through the roof, and there's lots of questions about that. Again, divisive issue, but it's a big deal, costing lots of money. And number three is abortion. And I know they're calling it, women's rights. I got it. It's one of those divisive issues. The thing is that one actually could be solved. And I did not, and I'll say this because again, we don't, we're talking political today. When Roe versus Wade was overturned, the Democrats did not put on the floor of the House, nobody proposed it, which is a federal abortion law. Nobody said it, nobody put it in. In fact, they're still talking about like reinstating Roe versus Wade. You can't reinstate something that was unwound and undone. You need to put together, if you really think there's a sensible way to do it, then to do it. But that isn't really what people are talking about doing. So that becomes a little bit interesting to watch how this stuff kind of is coming about. So, those are the three big issues. And what I would say is that those issues are going to drive most of the electorate. We'll see how it all shakes out, because anything that goes beyond three, because three, by the way, is always the right number, is probably not going to be really something that you want to think about. Now, what you do need to think about is your own business, your own career, and what you're going to do. And you might want to check out this, which is most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize the position to win. And you can get this physically, of course, at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, wherever books are sold. You can go ask for it, or you can go to our website, positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com, or you can get it digitally, which is right there. You can go get it on Kindle or Nook, or of course, Apple iBooks. Also, you might want to check out Remote Work for a Better World, which will show you how to work remotely and actually get stuff done and become more successful. And while you're at it, why not pick up a nice little mug and pick up a Raging Verbalist mug, so that way you can have a little bit of rage at any point that you ever want. Everything tastes a little bit edgier when you have a Raging Verbalist mug. All right, Sandra, what do we have next?
So what do you think is driving this?
Well, first off, Donald Trump, love him or hate him. And in fact, when he came down the escalator back in 2015, he ended up going to Freedom Fest in Las Vegas, which I was attending. And that was not if you will, a soft and easy crowd. I'd never seen him speak live. I'd never been in the same room. And he went in and did things which I thought were amazing, especially to a bunch of libertarians, because libertarians, I always like to say, we can piss off people on the left and the right simultaneously because of our views and where we think, because frankly, freedom is like the number one thing, liberty. But he did a great job, and I was impressed enough about what he had said and what he was going to do to think that he had a chance at that point in time. So he is a polarizing figure, and that means that it creates some issues. Now, there's a thing called the sharp edge of marketing, and if you want to learn a marketing lesson from what goes on, is the fact that the sharp edge of marketing is what Donald Trump does every day. He doesn't seek, well, I guess you could say he's trying to get more people in the tent, but there are people who are just, they've got Trump derangement syndrome and they're just like, oh, I never love him at all. Now, most people who are in business are afraid of the sharp edge because, well, you're gonna get people really excited and happy, and you're gonna get people who are really gonna be irritated and pissed off. You really want to think about what your sharp edge is going to be because that will help your business more than not. Nobody wants the bland vanilla. Everybody wants it with a little bit of, chocolate chips or nuts or whatever you're going to put into that ice cream. You got to have something in there. So I think that's what's driving this whole thing is that people are, they either love them or hate them.
So let's talk about Trump.
So Trump is this very unique figure, to say the least. I have studied Donald Trump from the standpoint of that he is a kind of a one of these icons. I've never seen a business person who actually would take a stand like he did. And by the way, this isn't new. A lot of people think that this is an act and he's been doing it. But if just recently, but if you look at it, he's been doing it for a long time. He's really this kind of, self-managed guy. And frankly, there are people who are running terrible attack ads against him, which turn out to actually help drive more of his support. So they may want to think this through because we are living in that prism, if you will, that glass house and mirrors and everything. And it seems like that it energizes his base even more and more and more. And I think that base is growing. So we'll have to see. So that's that one side.
And now let's talk about Harris.
Well, again, I'm a libertarian, and anybody who says taxes, 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 I love taxes, we all need more taxes, that's not for me, because I'm a flat tax believer. I'm a person who thinks that we need to have less in taxation. We've got to have smarter taxation because you kill the goose that lays any eggs at all. Also, more regulation. The Biden administration has put in tons of regulation. Trump was, by the way, the first president in like forever to actually implicitly state, hey, we're going to take out more regulations. And he did. Now, people will point out that it wasn't as successful as he said it was going to be. Well, he had a lot of inertia, a lot of people fighting against him. So, and then the next thing is more government control. If you believe in more of all of those things, then your choice is pretty clear. I don't.
And then what do you think is the most interesting wild card?
How would you convince, just ask yourself this question, how would you convince the world's richest man, over $220 billion, to put your neck out and go and take a stand? So I think the wild card is Elon Musk, and the fact that Elon Musk and what he did at Twitter, now X, was quite astonishing. They have 85% fewer employees, and they're still chugging along. Now we use it every single week. It is interesting of how it's working. Lots of people don't like it and think that it's out of control because, well, free speech scares people. It's interesting to watch how the sides have swapped seriously, because at one point in time, somebody like a Lenny Bruce was being hauled in and put in jail for saying naughty bad words, or George Carlin. Come on. And then so all of that. So I think Elon Musk is the wild card, and the fact that he knocked down Twitter's X's overhead so dramatically, he now is going to be, Donald Trump has stated it, that he would be the guy that would be in charge of going through and trimming the excesses of the federal government. And I'll just give you one example of what is just an insane excess and what they're not doing correctly with our collective money. So in all of these big omnibus bills, there was this bill that was in there that was looking to extend and propagate internet access to more rural areas. Well, that's kind of a cool thing, right? Because there's lots of places that really don't have that. And maybe the federal government spawning that and sponsoring that is a good thing, because it's helping us have a more cohesive society. I don't think that the government should be doing it. But anyway, so they put out this whole process, And of course, Starlink wins. And Starlink is one of Elon Musk's companies, and it's a $42 billion contract. Now, the Biden administration hates Elon Musk, hates what he does, which is kind of insane because he's like the tip of the innovation spear for all of us. And they end up revoking the contract or revoking the program, even though he had won it fair and square. How many people have gotten improved internet access for this 42 billion? Because it isn't like they took the 42 billion and put it back in the, back in the bank or something. Gonzo, how many people? And the answer is zero, bupkis, none, zip, nada. That's the ridiculous part. I think having somebody like Elon Musk who sees that insanity and is willing to go in there and push on that, I think that will be a great thing. Now, he's going to get lots and lots of pushback, but I think that he's got enough power that he might be able to get some stuff done.
So what do you say to people who are entrepreneurs and in marketing and sales?
Well, one of the things I always say to people is you want to steer clear of talking about politics. In fact, there's three things if you're in sales, unless you really know somebody, but you still got to be careful, is talking about politics, talking about money, or talking about religion, talking about what they're doing with their money. I guess I had four, but the other thing is sex. So if you want to have four of them, I'll give you three of them, but it's probably sex, religion, and politics. Stay away from those three things and you'll probably be in better shape if you're an entrepreneur. My sense, and what I say is if you vote with your wallet, I think I know which way you're going to vote. I'm going to vote with my wallet. Every person has to understand that we are sitting at an interesting time. Will we survive no matter who wins? Absolutely. Will we move forward? Yes, we will, because that's how the world works. We all have to advance no matter what happens or what takes place. And with that, I want to thank all of you. And I know we've stepped a little bit in the political arena here, but it's interesting times. Hopefully you will get whoever you think is going to be the right person for you. All I can tell you is that I believe that liberty and freedom is the thing that we seek. In fact, part of being an entrepreneur is to be free and to be capable of doing what you want to do. So for myself, John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and the ever lovely Sandra, have a scary, crazy Halloween. Have a safe one. Don't go and do nutty, crazy things. And then we'll see if we're all going to have a fright night on election night so soon from now.